Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Coming up here on today's show, I got some Raiders on the hot seat because we know that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, they brought in their guys. They brought in McDaniels guys. And my question that I've been wondering is Pierce going to weed out the McDaniels guys, find somebody that he could build a legitimate team around? Because the last thing that we need is a divided locker room. So right now, I got 8 players that come to my mind that their seats are going to be a little hot. If you don't already know, we're going to be doing a meetup Saturday, November 11th inside of Red Tail, which is located inside of Resorts World in Las Vegas, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if the party's rocking and rolling, we can go to 10 p.m., we go to 11 p.m., we go to midnight. I don't care how long it is. So if you're a member of the nation, you're going to be out in Las Vegas. The first 10 people that arrive, first round's on me. I want to pack Red Tail. I want to show them how the nation gets down. And if the event goes well enough, rumor has it, we might be able to go out for every single Raiders home game, which would, I'm telling you, mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to Jeremy Chug. So please show up, show support. And if you know Raider fans out in Las Vegas, tell them to pull up as well. All right, let's go to first here on the defensive side of football. I got some defenders on the hot seat. And the first name rolling up here is Jakorian Bennett at cornerback. And the reason why Bennett is on this list is because you're going to see a very common theme here. With whoever the new coaching staff is going to be, they don't owe Bennett anything. And the fact that he has struggled the way that he has this season, why would I invest my time and my money in a player that was drafted by the previous regime if they don't fit what I'm trying to do? I mean, think about it. The Raiders' defense is the best it's been in a very long time, and yet Bennett still struggles. I think when you look at some of the numbers, they don't look as bad, but when you really, really, truly watch some of the games here for Bennett, like, he doesn't get counted against the Devontae Parker drop, like 60-yarder that would have been against them in the Patriots game. That would have been huge. He almost gave up an 80-yard touchdown to Jalen Hyatt last week. It's just the quarterback missed him, but he beat Jakorian. To me, yes, he played in 26 snaps against the Giants last week, but anybody that watches Bennett out there on the field knows that right now he's a liability. And because he was drafted by McDaniels and Ziegler, that means his seat's a little bit hot right now. Let's go to another name here. It's on the defensive side of the football at corner. It's Brandon Facyson, who was signed to a 2-year deal. Was signed to a 2-year deal this offseason, and he hasn't played yet because he is currently on IR. And I laugh a little times because when you look at a player like Facyson, this is what used to drive me nuts that McDaniels and Ziegler would do is they would pick favorites, and they would just pick and choose, and they would be very hypocritical in a sense where they wanted players to go out there and always buy in. Yet you can have a player like Facyson that's been taking up a spot, and he's been on this roster for, I don't know, 9 weeks now. No updates on him. Have no idea when the hell he's going to be back, and it's unknown when he's going to be returning. So if I don't see him play this entire season, the new coaching regime comes back in next season, and you can cut him. You can save $3.25 million in 2024. I mean, why would you not do it? You do it in a heartbeat. So those are reasons why Facyson, I don't think he's going to be back next season. I got 6 more names coming up here on the show, and I want you to name a Raiders player that you personally think is on the hot seat. I'm talking McDaniels guy, hot seat. A player that hasn't been playing well, hot seat. Let me know. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So scroll on down, and let's see what you got. Next name on here for my Raiders hot seat list is Byron Young, the 3rd-round pick out of Alabama, and I am very disappointed in this young man right here. I will say he's been battling some nagging injuries. He looked a lot better this offseason, and Byron, unfortunately, hasn't been able to stay healthy, and he hasn't been able to get on the field. But he was a healthy scratch last week, and when you're a 3rd-round pick, that's a healthy scratch with a defensive-minded coach, that's worrisome. When you're a 3rd-round pick in the NFL draft, you're expected to go out there and you're expected to play, you're expected to perform. He can't even get on the field right now. And when he has been on the field, it's been bad. He was undersized. People were a little bit worried how he was going to be able to fit in the NFL when you're not on Alabama and you're not surrounded by all the Alabama talent, and then you're forced to go up against NFL talent. Sometimes you can get exposed. Byron Young's getting exposed here a little bit. Looks like one of the worst defensive tackles in the NFL. I know that he was drafted in the 3rd round, but guess what? If you do not fit, it doesn't matter. The new regime could potentially move on from you. I got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. $100 deposit match when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. And why should you go to Prize Picks? You should, because it's daily fantasy sports made easy. So for any reason out there you can't find what I'm talking about, you can go down to the comments, you can go down in the description, and when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, make sure that you use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy, so that offers your entry. So let's just say one of your players gets injured in a football, basketball game, and you have a player who exits the game in the first half and doesn't return in the second. That player is rebooted, which Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy, which I definitely like because I don't want to have a good run going and then all of a sudden one of my guys gets hurt and then I losing out on some of the money. No, you can still win some money. You just don't win nearly as much. But Aiden O'Connell this week, I'm going to take less for passing yards. I think this is going to be a heavy Josh Jacobs game, heavy running game, really leaning on the back of number 8, which is why I'm going to go more. And I love me some Devontae Adams, but he hasn't been all that impactful in the games. Not because of him. It's just that's been the game plan. And going up against DJ Reed, going up against Sauce Gardner, to me, I see Aiden, this Raiders offense, targeting potentially some other players here. So those are my picks, and here's my message to the nation. If you want to go put your money where your mouth is, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS. All right, let's go to the last player here. Defenders on the hot seat, Isaac Rochell. Another player that was getting some run with McDaniels. Unfortunately for him, he's got a new head coach, and he was a healthy scratch this past week. He was a McDaniels and Ziegler guy, and I'm just going to tell y'all, according to a source, that he can be a little bit of a distraction sometimes, which maybe for people who follow him on social media, it's not that much of a surprise. But there's a certain player that I talked to that just is point blank and saying, Antonio Pierce, the way right now this Raiders locker room is, don't get me wrong. Yeah, they were smoking on those Giants packs, smoking on some Garza after the Raiders win, which everybody loved. However, what you don't see is the Wednesday to Saturday, the in-between days. And they don't want any more distractions. And unfortunately, with Rochell, he cares a lot about his social media. Totally fine. I care a lot about my social media. But it doesn't sit so well with some of the guys in the locker room. Coming up next here on the show, offensive players on the hot seat. And this is the list that I think a lot of y'all are probably going to be wondering, considering the fact that McDaniels was the offensive guru. He was supposed to be able to build this offense, and now there's nobody else out there. Remember, if you're looking for nonstop free Raiders videos every single day, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and watch the show for a week. That's what I tell a lot of people. In the last month, we have been able to gain over 7,000 subscribers, which is an amazing and beautiful thing. And I want to continue this shit, man. I want to get to 200,000 subs by the end of the show, or by the end of the year, show people what Raider Nation is all about. My thing is this. It costs nothing to hit sub. You're getting free content every single day. You want to get a little bit wild? Hey, don't get me wrong. We can put our hair down. We can do that. But if you don't like the show after a week, unsubscribe. You got absolutely nothing to lose. Let's go to the players on offense that are on the hot seat. I'm going to go Justin Herron on offensive tackle. And I think a lot of people watching this show right now are like, oh, yeah, this guy's on the team. Well, guess what? Yeah, he's not good at football. He got some opportunities this past week because it was a blowout. But let's face it, the only reason he was even on the 53-man roster is because McDaniels and Ziegler traded for him last season. He was a member of the New England Patriots, and he has struggled to stay healthy, and even when he's been healthy, the dude is not good at football. Also, the Raiders this week, they signed Brandon Parker to the practice squad, and Brandon Parker is kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. He's always back. I might just rename him The Undertaker because I just feel like he's just always coming back. Michael Myers, right? Like, you can't get rid of Brandon Parker. But Brandon Parker, when healthy, is a better offensive tackle than Justin Herron. Let that sink in for a second. Let's go to the next name here. And I mean, this is the number one guy on the hot seat. I don't know how he has lasted this long on an NFL roster at 33 years old at the running back position. It's Brandon Bolden. And I've been asking, what does Brandon Bolden do? It is a legitimate question. He is only a special teams player. But to me, if I'm going to go out and have only a special teams player, I'm not going to pay him at the beginning of the season $2.23 million at age 33 when, let's face it, Bolden's not even a fast player. Like, you're going to pay somebody that type of money, he better be a gunner. He better be somebody that can go down the field and make some plays. Bolden doesn't do anything. He doesn't play on offense. He just has no contribution to this team. Maybe he's a good locker room guy. I'm not in that locker room. But I know this. At 33 years old, when you're not contributing in any way, if you can cut him and save $1.06 million, which is essentially the vet minimum and free agency, I would rather go out and invest some of that money in a Melvin Ingram, in a Carlos Dunlap, in a Matt Ioannidis, somebody out there that can help this team win. Because Brandon Bolden ain't helping this team win. So here's my question. Yes or no? Should the Raiders cut Brandon Bolden? I'm going to imagine that this is going to be an outstanding 99% yes. And if you're the 1% and it drops down to 98, it's probably because you are lost. Let's go to the next one in here. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. Gotta be on the hot seat. And I don't anticipate that they move on from him this season because the dead cap hit is just too much. But, let's be real here. I know Raiders players are probably going to say, oh, Jimmy's not a distraction. Jimmy's going to say, hey, whatever my role is, it's totally fine. But when you're a team captain, when you're expected to be the quarterback of the team, and you're not, and you get benched for a fourth-round rookie, brand new head coach, that's not going to sit well. Now with all the reports starting to roll out there that Dave Ziegler did not want Garoppolo, that Jimmy G was the only reason why he was signed was because of Josh McDaniels, and the eye test tells you that Jimmy G's not even a top 32 quarterback in the National Football League. Dude still leads the NFL in interceptions despite only playing, 5.5 games or 6 games at this point? I don't even know what it is. But to me, you're going to move on from Jimmy G next season. And the way that you got to do it is it's got to be a post-June 1st cut, because next offseason, if the Raiders do that, they're going to save $13 million in a post-June 1st cut. And then, you still got $15 million. You can't just cut him right after the season, because then it's a $28 million dead cap hit. So kind of what the Raiders did with Carl Nassib, kind of what the Raiders did with Nick Kwiatkowski, where you cut him in March, it doesn't really count until June. So then when June 1st hits, you're going to get $13 million. And Aiden O'Connell's going to be your starting quarterback the rest of the season. Jimmy Garoppolo's on the hot seat, which then brings me to my next name. It's Brian Hoyer. And Brian Hoyer, man. I respect Brian because he's been in the league for as long as he has. Let's face it. Dude's made maybe close to $50, $60 million in his career just being a backup quarterback. Sure, he's gotten some starts here and there, but a 15-year quarterback, and he's just the QB3. He's a healthy scratch. He's not any good. He was a McDaniels guy. The only reason why he was even brought on the team was to help groom Aiden O'Connell, be the backup to Jimmy G, and you saw what Brian Hoyer was. You saw what Jimmy G was. The only reason why Hoyer was here was because of McDaniels wanted him. And you're not going to be able to save money. It's going to cost you in 2024 $2.6 million, and it's only going to save you $168K. But I mean, why are we keeping Brian Hoyer on our team? Why are we keeping Brian Hoyer on our team? He's on the hot seat. So here we go. One more time here. Defenders on the hot seat. Jakorian Bennett, Brandon Facyson, Byron Young, and Isaac Rochell. And then on the offensive side of the football, it's Justin Herron, Brandon Bolden, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer. Patriot, 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 Patriot. I don't want any more Patriots. Jacoby could stay. Jacoby Myers could stay. That guy's a dog. Seriously, though, if anybody wants to give me a follow on IG, give me a follow on Twitter, please don't be shy to stay up to date on everything going on around the silver and black. And remember, if you're going to be in Las Vegas this weekend, hit me up Saturday, November 11th at Red Tail inside Resorts World, 7 p.m., 9 p.m. Going to be rocking and rolling with the nation. First 10 people that show up, first round is on me. Also, you get to meet my dad.